Although there is no evidence to prove his existence, he would have been a contemporary of Confucius if he had lived in the 5th or 6th century BC. Still, the foundation of Taoism is a masterwork written by the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu, known as the Tao Te Ching. Wu Wei, often known as non-activity, effortless action, or the paradoxical action of non-action, is a well-known idea that sprang from Taoist philosophy. Practically speaking, Wu Wei is the condition of flow, which athletes constantly refer to as the zone. Athletes who are in the zone act without effort and move through space and time with remarkable ease. Everything appears to be going in a natural direction. There are no extremes, anxieties, or ruminations. I would want to introduce you to the philosophy of flow as an introduction to the wonderful legacy of Taoism. The enigmatic Tao Te Ching is a work of art. Not only is there disagreement about the precise date of writing, but there is even disagreement on the author's existence. However, one thing is certain. This work's depth has had a lasting impact on humanity. Not to add that after the Bible, the Tao Te Ching is the work of literature that has been translated the most in the world. Coexisting peacefully with the Tao, also known as the Way, is the central idea of Taoist philosophy. What then is the Tao? We actually don't know the answer to that question, and trying to does no good. Only the boundaries of our perception allow us to fully comprehend the Tao. It is still unclear what the Tao actually is, and how it appears, feels, smells, or sounds. Furthermore, Lao Tzu asserts that the Tao we know isn't the actual Tao. Thus, the Tao Te Ching's well-known opening reads as follows. The Tao that can be described is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be spoken is not the eternal name. End quote. What then does one know about the Tao? The genuine Tao, as the Taoist philosophers often stress, is an all-encompassing power that exists outside of our perception and is incomprehensible to us, and the objective is to live in accordance with the Tao, even though we may never fully comprehend it, an aim that bears a striking resemblance to the Stoic understanding of nature. How then are we to live in accordance with the Way? The literature of Taoism doesn't actually offer a single workable way to do this. Nonetheless, there are numerous hints that indicate we should attain mental calm, restrain our senses, practice humility, and stop trying in order to become more receptive to the ways of the universe. It's not necessary to close our eyes and sit down in order to achieve this state of quiet. The Taoists remark that action and quiet of mind may coexist, and that when we are fully present, our actions flow naturally, frictionlessly, and with a laser-like focus, to the point of almost becoming ecstatic. In his biography, retired professional basketball player Bill Russell writes, "It was almost as if we were playing in slow motion. During those spells, I could almost sense how the next play would develop and where the next shot would be taken." End quote. Taoist writings, the narrative of Ting, a cook who works while in a state of flow, may be found in Chuangzi. Lord Wen Hui was drawn to this and was astounded by the cook's skillful handling of the ox marrow. After expressing his admiration for his talent, Cook Ting put down his knife and answered, "What I care about is the way, which goes beyond skill. When I first began cutting up oxen, all I could see was the ox itself. After 3 years, I no longer saw the whole ox, and now I go at it by spirit and don't look with my eyes. Perception and understanding have come to a stop, and spirit moves where it wants. I go along with the natural makeup, strike in the big hollows, guide the knife through the big openings, and following things as they are. So I never touch the smallest ligament or tendon, much less a main joint." End quote. The state of the knife that the cook uses is a crucial component of this tale. According to him, competent chefs replace their knives annually because they cut, whereas less skilled chefs do the same every month because they cheat. However, due to his talent and precision, Cook Ting was able to utilize the same knife for 19 years. This tale relates to the power of gentleness, another important Taoist lesson. We might succeed in our efforts if we push hard and force things to happen, but we risk using far more energy than is necessary and suffering unintended consequences. Conversely, a person who is in a state of flow tackles a task sensibly, recognizing when to take action and when to refrain from it, ultimately striking a balance between the two. It's important to keep your temperature just right. It's the ideal way to avoid both boredom and anxiety. The concept of inaction runs counter to the Western ideal of exerting constant pressure and working endlessly to achieve goals. It is recommended for us to aim high, take initiative, and work hard. In the meantime, a large number of people struggle with anxiety, depression, and sleep issues. Are we exhausting ourselves? We despise passivity and often confuse it with laziness. However, these are distinct entities. Doing nothing makes far more sense when we observe nature than we usually do. The amount of energy we expend does not equate to the results. The outcome of a sequence of events is called a result. The odd thing about this is that a lot of these behaviors are instinctive, meaning that humans don't have to get involved more than is necessary to guide a task in the right direction. Isn't it so that many problems solve themselves? Life is compared as a river in Taoism. There are already one or more courses in the river, and once we find ourselves in it, we have three options. We can swim against the flow, cling to a branch, or let go and follow the stream. We swim against the river for the most part of our life without even realizing it. Because the great majority of activities, both inside and outside of ourselves, are beyond our control. Our mind's belief that it can and should control the world is rather egotistical. Let's face it, we have little control over our body's natural functions, such as blood flow, wound healing, or digestion. We have no control over the future or over other people. We have no control over who we find beautiful or who we fall in love with. Everything that is not within our control simply moves in a certain path. Sometimes intelligence forces it, but most of the time it happens naturally. We align ourselves with this natural course when we go with the flow. This is the least resistance path. It allows nature to develop naturally without our interference. Therefore, the Taoist approach is to navigate through the river rather than attempting to control it, as this is an impossible task. The water itself is another aspect of the river that embodies Taoism. Water's gentleness and humility are qualities that essentially represent Taoist virtue. A passage from the Tao Te Ching is as follows. The supreme good is like water, which benefits all of creation without trying to compete with it. It gathers in unpopular places. Thus, it is like the Tao. End quote. Despite its softness, water can overcome hardness, as demonstrated by the way that rock erodes. Not only does water go toward the lowest areas, but it also lacks a purpose, objective, or particular desire. Nevertheless, everything it passes is fed by it. It is a phenomenal life force that, although lacking aim, genuinely accomplishes God's will. Water is the softest and most yielding substance. Yet nothing is better than water for overcoming the hard and rigid, because nothing can compete with it. End quote. If you've ever been in a state of flow, you'll notice that something goes away and only reappears when the thinking mind regains control. This is the emphasis on outcomes over the current work. This reminds me of the Stoic idea of amor fati, which advises accepting whatever happens and concentrating on the here and now rather than worrying about the future. When you're in a state of flow, it doesn't matter if you're writing, dancing, playing a video game, or participating in sports. You forget about the pressure, the outcome, your worries about the future, and your mistakes from the past. Only you and the current task are involved. You are fully here in this moment. And letting go is the only way to accomplish this. Letting go means giving up on certain branches and swimming against the flow. It involves letting go of the past and the future, concentrating only on the present and living it fully and fearlessly. Thank you for watching.